Well, more volatility today. Dow Jones down 546 points. And as we talk about the volatility and the dangers that are coming, I was reading an article today on the hedge. It's titled "The Market Crash Nobody Thinks Possible is Coming." This is from Charles Hugh Smith. And just really quick, I'll paraphrase just a little section of this. He says, all those buying the dip because the Fed will never let the market go down will be crushed like scurrying cockroaches. And all those trying to rotate into the next hot sector or asset class will also be crushed like scurrying cockroaches. Because when the everything bubble pops, well, everything pops. There is no shelter in a risk-off cascade. And I thought that that was so true. So accurate. And watching these markets today, what's everybody going to do? They're going to continue to buy these dips. And sooner or later, we're going to come to a point where the dip's not coming back. You know, these markets continue to be saved by the Fed, by the retail investor buying the dips. And sooner or later, we're going to learn a very valuable lesson that we're not going to come back one of these days from one of these big dips. And 546 points, that's nothing. I understand that. But we're going to see, I believe, huge corrections coming down the road here. And people are going to jump in and buy these dips. And unfortunately, at that point, the markets will not be resuscitated. The dip will not be coming back up. And so many people being suckered into these markets now. And I know people are going to write me going, they've made a lot of money. I hope you've made a lot of money, and I hope you pulled a lot of that money out off the poker table and are protecting yourself with some cash and some assets, because the news continues to get more horrendous, more nauseating, because today we got the first-time jobless claims, and they were very concerning. Weekly jobless claims rise more than expected to 362,000. Let me be very, very clear here. This is 362,000 Americans, workers, who filed first-time jobless claims last week. We are going on over 18 months now of losing over 300,000 jobs a week. 2 plus 2, ladies and gentlemen, is not adding up. We continue to hear how great the stock market is, buy the dip, get into the real estate market, but we just lost another 362,000 jobs. Something is not making sense. Please comment down below. But how in the world can the stock market be going up? How in the world can we continue to have this housing bubble when we are losing 300,000 plus jobs a week for over 18 months? It just does not add up. Please comment down below. And here's some more interesting news. And this stuff is getting absolutely out of control. I'm really having a lot of concern here with what is happening, the direction we're going, and how dangerous this really is. 51% of restaurants could not pay their September rent. Okay? Think about that. 51% of the restaurants right here in America could not pay their rent in September. 51%. 35% of all U.S. small business could not pay their rent in September. So when you go out shopping this week, when you go to a store, you go to a restaurant, you're at a mall, whatever, just look at the stores, look at the restaurants, and know that 51% of the restaurants didn't pay their rent last month, and 35% of those retailers didn't pay their rent. I guess this month, we're on the 30th. So, but think about that. Think about the reality of that, where we have retailers and restaurants not paying their bills because they can't. And how long have they not been paying their bills? 38% of Canadian small businesses couldn't make rent in September. In July, 40% of restaurants couldn't afford to pay their rent in July. Then it lifted to 45% in August. And now we're at 51%. So if we went back last March, April, May, were they paying 25 or 25% of them paying rent? Were 30% of them paying rent? because in July 40% were not, in August 45% were not, now 51% are not. I mean, these are astronomical numbers. I mean, just think of this. I mean, I can't even fathom how much debt is out there right now that nobody's talking about. You know, if you've looked at some of my last couple videos, some of the office buildings, the retailers completely empty. People, investors, sitting on all of this real estate that is vacant, office buildings vacant, a lot of this stuff packaged up into mortgage-backed securities. I mean, we have millions of people invested in these properties that nobody's occupying. How does this all play out? Please comment down below. But I'm going to tell you, it is very, very scary. Rent trouble for small businesses. Let's talk about this. Some of they did a breakdown on some of the states. Michigan, 43% of small businesses in Michigan could not pay their rent in September. That's up 15% from August. In Texas, 39% of small business could not pay rent in September. That's up 7%. New Jersey, 38% didn't pay rent in September, up 14%. Georgia, 38% didn't pay. That's up 6%. California, where I'm coming from right now, 37% of small businesses in the state of California, right here, could not pay their rent September. It's up 5%. Florida, 33% of small business could not pay their rent. Yet we hear how great it is in Florida, and yes, it's much better in Florida. Things are much better there. But even there, you look at the amount of evictions that are flooding Florida, and you look at 33% of small business in a state like Florida not able to pay rent. Something's very wrong. That is up 4%. Virginia, 32%, and Colorado, 29%. That's up 3%. These numbers are staggering, okay? This is another bellwether, another canary in the coal mine of where all this is going, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if small business is suffering like this right now, after the trillions that have been pumped in to these markets, into the economy, all the triple P loans, the EIDL loans, all these loans, all this money that was just artificially injected, money out of thin air that was injected into these businesses, into these economies, into these markets. And look at the carnage that we're talking about right now. And what is going to make this better? There's no Calvary on the way. There is no help. Things are going to get much worse. And these people out there that just don't believe this, I feel sorry for you, because you know, when I talk about these statistics and you start connecting the dots, what else is wrong out there that we're not even being told, that we're not even hearing about right now? I mean, these are really, really concerning numbers. Bed Bath & Beyond shares dived more than 25% as supply chain issues hit sales. Inflation eats into profits. We're going to see a lot more of this. This is coming to a town near you. And what does December look like? What does this holiday season look like? Bed Bath & Beyond shares dived more than 25% as supply chain issues hit sales. Inflation eats profits. The inflation is just beginning. And this supply chain disruption, I mean, we have like 90 cargo ships sitting out in Long Beach right now. This is going to, I mean, we're talking about ships floating off the coast here for 3 weeks before they can even come to a port and unload at these terminals. And this could get worse. And we are really, I think, one disruption away from something very, very even more serious taking place. It's not going to get better soon, anytime soon, ladies and gentlemen. If you need something, you need to purchase it right now. If you're stockpiling food, get more food right now. If you need supplies, gear, whatever, this is probably the best time to get it, because I think the farther along we go here, things are going to get much more difficult to get. Here's an article coming from CNN. Bacon prices have skyrocketed to record levels, and they may not go down anytime soon. Bacon prices have gone up 28% during the past 12 months. I did a video a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about when I was at a grocery store, I picked up some bacon, And I was like, well, this seems the package seemed a little bit different. And I'm looking at it going, it seems a lot smaller. And I looked at the weight of the package. It was 10 ounces, 10 ounces. I picked up another package. It was 12 ounces. So, but it was still over $5 for a package of bacon, almost half the size of a normal package. But yeah, you're seeing $8, $9, $10 a pound bacon. And yeah, these prices aren't coming down anytime soon. Prices across the board for about anything are not going to be coming down anytime soon. So if you need something, now is the time to get it and put it away, because your dollar is going to continue to buy less and less. So again, food prices absolutely soaring. Here's one from The Hedge. Saving for a home down payment now takes even longer, thank the Fed. This was really fascinating. Americans are struggling as it is, but we have the working poor. I guess now we would call that the middle class. Whatever is left of the middle class continues to get screwed by the Fed and their easy money policies that have inflated both home prices and rents to unaffordable levels. Yeah, everybody thinks it's great that the rates are low, but that's allowing everybody to borrow this cheap money and get into bidding wars and push the price of the house up. Me personally, I would love to see rates go up and see these housing prices slammed. And that's coming, no doubt about it. We are going to see rates go up, and we're going to see housing prices come down. It's inevitable. It is coming. But with this frenzy of cheap money out there where people can just borrow and put down the bare minimum, it has caused a huge bubble. For the average person, saving 10% of monthly income toward a 20% down payment on a median price U.S. home, it has jumped 1 year from 7 to 8, according to Bloomberg. So now takes the average American 8 years, it's not 7, but 8 years now to save up for a down payment on a home. The Fed buying $40 billion a month in mortgage-backed securities has kept mortgage rates pinned at ultra low levels. So with the tight housing inventory that we're seeing out there, ultra low rates, this has produced bidding wars, helping to produce record home prices. With the exploding cost of rent, the cost of living, the cost of an automobile, people cannot save anything. They're burdened. The rising cost of living, they're not able to save. They're not able to get ahead. People are barely keeping their heads above water. So it's getting more and more difficult to save some money so that you have enough money to put down on a house at some point, and so that you can move out of that apartment or move out of mom and dad's house and step up and live the American dream, right? Owning a home. Tomo data showed the highest years to save on a per metro basis. Get this, if you want to move to Los Angeles, it's going to take 19.2 years to save for that 20% down payment. You want to move to San Francisco, it's going to take 17.9 years for the average American to save up enough money for a down payment to move to San Francisco. San Jose, 18.2 years. New York, 11.9 years. Seattle, 12.3 years. And this is at these prices. And imagine how much longer it's going to take if prices continue to go up. But they're going to get slammed, no doubt about it. I am going to say right here, I guarantee we're going to see this housing bubble, this housing market crash. We're going to see prices shattered. Not saying it's going to happen next week or next month or 3 months from now. I don't know. But it is coming. And when it does happen, there are going to be people that have cash. There are people licking their chops right now that are going to jump in these markets, and they're going to have purchasing power. And this is why I believe it's a good idea to have some cash put away so that you can take advantage of some of these opportunities like the housing bubble popping. There's going to be sales. The Hill today, more than 75% of Venezuelans now living in extreme poverty. 95% of Venezuelans live in poverty. 75% live in extreme poverty. They factor this in because of fuel shortages and not enough job opportunities. And my question is to all of you, please comment down below. Is this coming to America? Is it possible? Too many people just believe it could never happen here, even though Venezuela had the highest living standards in all of Latin America back, I believe, in the 70s. How many of them thought back then that Venezuela would collapse, that they'd be eating dogs and cats and zoo animals, and they would see inflation go to the moon? Most of them back in the 70s probably never even thought it was possible. Being the wealthiest Latin nation and having more oil than anybody in the world, maybe next to Saudi Arabia. But look how desperate now they are. And here in America, though, think about it. Most people believe it could never happen because they've never seen anything like this happen. They've never lived through anything like this. We as Americans, including myself, have never been through real pain. I've never been through a Great Depression. Most of you out there probably have never been through a Great Depression. If you talk to your grandparents, they might have told you a couple stories about it, but that's nothing compared to what's happening in Venezuela. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. People believe it's not possible because it just can't happen. That's their answer. Well, it's America. It just can't happen here. That's a terrible way of looking at things. And if you base your life on that things can't happen to you because you live in America, you are going to be a casualty of this economic collapse. We really, we really, have been brainwashed, I think, to a degree, that America is too big to fail, too big to fall. The dollar's too big, too strong to collapse. It's the world reserve currency. It can never collapse. But if you go back through history, every fiat currency, every world reserve currency at some point has collapsed and another one comes in. So what makes us immune from an economic collapse, a depression, hyperinflation, tough times? What makes us immune from becoming Venezuela? When you look at the leadership and the inflation, the mismanagement, the criminality, the shortages, all that, are we not beginning to see that right here in our own country? How do you think it started in a place like Venezuela? You think it just happened overnight? Gradually happened. And look where they're at now. And when you look at it, it didn't take very long to happen. Once it happens, once the bottom falls out, it's gone. And it's very, very hard to recover. Can it happen here in America? I believe it can. I pray to God it never does. Please comment down below. Let me know what you think about that. Again, I never, ever want to see that happen here. But unfortunately, the more I make these videos, the more I read, the more I connect the dots. And there are some very, very big similarities to Venezuela and America now. And I think that we have to be very, very careful here because we are the biggest debtor nation on planet Earth. We've abused our world reserve currency status beyond imagination. And I think we're going to pay a huge price. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I do not ever want to be in a place like Venezuela. But if we're not careful and we don't correct what we're doing, if we don't turn this course and turn this ship around right now, it's very possible. And let me tell you, it would probably be a lot more dangerous here than Venezuela. So before I go, one last thing, let me know your thoughts. As I was watching the markets today, around lunchtime, Dow Jones was down around 200, and then after lunch, it's down 546 points at close. What caused that to happen? Is it the supply chain disruptions? Is it the inflation? Was it Manchin and Sinema, the two senators who said they're not going to go along with this $3.5 trillion reconciliation plan? So did that have anything to do with it, or is it just all of it? Let me know your thoughts. Why did the market just fall apart at the end here today? And What's your outlook for things to come? And what are we going to see tomorrow? Are they going to pull the markets back up tomorrow, or are they going to be in trouble? We'll find out tomorrow. We'll talk about it. God bless all of you. Talk to all of you very, very soon.